Star Wars 7x7 episode 2223. If you, like me, were shocked to learn that Poe Dameron was once a spice runner in his early days prior to joining the New Republic and then the Resistance, well, there is a backstory and it is being revealed with Free Fall, the new novel by Alex Segura. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Boyvon and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So today is the big day that Poe Dameron, Free Fall by Alex Segura comes out. And thank you very much to Disney Lucasfilm Press for sending me a copy to check out in advance and be able to talk to you about now that it is hitting shelves, both physical and virtual. And this is going to be a non-spoiler review. So, what we do know about the novel is that Poe Dameron was once upon a time a spice runner, and this novel sets out to tell us about his days as a spice runner. We also know that there's been an excerpt released on StarWars.com which details one of his earliest encounters with Zorii Bliss. However, in the novel excerpt that's been published, she's not referred to as Zorii Bliss, but as Zorii Wynn, W-Y-N-N. And there is a reason for that, which we will get to, elliptically at least. But the thing that's key about that excerpt is that it details Poe Dameron's first mini-adventure, if you will, with the Spice Runners of Kijimi and with Zorii Wynn / Zorii Bliss. And that's pretty much the course that the novel takes. So it's essentially a series of adventures where Poe Dameron gets into a bunch of different scrapes and goes on a bunch of different missions with the Spice Runners of Kijimi, and particularly a little cell within the Spice Runners. And as he goes through this experience, you see him deciding how far he is willing to commit to what the Spice Runners are doing and what this means for his own moral and ethical center. Meanwhile, we know from the Rise of Skywalker that the parting of ways between Zorii and Poe was not a pleasant one. It didn't happen on good terms. And we get the whole story for that situation as the climax of the events in Free Fall. And if the story was just that, a series of experiences that Poe Dameron has, starting from when he joins the Spice Runners to when he leaves the Spice Runners, well, that would be a decent enough entertainment, but there are other storylines woven in along with the main thread. Most compelling and significant of those side stories, if you will, is the thread regarding an officer from the New Republic Security Bureau who has been doggedly pursuing the Spice Runners of Kijimi and has a very personal reason for doing so. And then there's also a compelling family drama with three characters, actually. Poe Dameron, of course, being the center of the focus for this, but with Kes Dameron, who is Poe's father, who is dealing with his own grief after the death of his wife, Shara Bey, and Poe's mother, obviously. Kes Dameron was a Spec Forces Pathfinder who was part of the Rebel strike team on Endor, so that's his background. And an uncle, an adoptive uncle, if you will, of sorts, Lulo Lampar, who is a Duros, who is an alien character. He was flying at the Battle of Endor along with Shara Bey, who is an A-Wing pilot, and he is sort of, the guy that Poe Dameron goes to when he can't talk to his dad. And, that's been a wonderful and stable relationship, but is now undergoing stresses of its own. And of course, a great deal of attention is paid to Poe's relationship with Zorii, as well as the characters with whom Poe mingles as his Spice Runner days begin to unfold. And the broader galactic situation is not left out of the picture either. So there is some discussion about what state the New Republic is in, how the underworld, the criminal element, has been developing during these times, and ultimately it builds up to one very large undertaking that becomes the flashpoint for everything that breaks down afterward. And I will say that the unfortunate thing for me in reading the novel is that that particular development on the machinations within the criminal underworld it suffers from a lack of perspective in that most of the novel is told from the third-person omniscient viewpoint of Poe Dameron, not all of it. But because of that, we don't necessarily get the wider picture of what's happening with the Spice Runners of Kijimi. So when the final climactic incident happens, you feel a little bit out of your depth, which I guess, goes along with the perspective of the character, but it would be nice to have understood the broader machinations that were happening and been able to see those pieces coming into place. And there is a major character whose fate, as far as I could tell from reading it, is left unresolved, and I found that particularly unfortunate under the circumstances, and that's stuff that we can talk about at another time. But I think one of the big tests for me in going through this novel was the characterization of Poe, and whether you could read it and hear Oscar Isaac's voice, granted a younger Oscar Isaac, if you will, in your head. And I really felt like Alex Segura captured his voice and captured the voice of a younger, more unsure, but still cocky and confident Poe Dameron. And there's one other aspect of this that we haven't evaluated yet, which I will do. But before I do, I just want to give a quick shout out to our friends at Audible who have made it possible for me to give you a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial by going to sw7x7.com/audible. I have not heard the audio version of Freefall yet, but it is narrated by Sean Elias Reyes, and he's also professionally known by the name Sean Kennan. He has come up recently both as a performer. He is 000 in the Dr. Aphra audio drama and has great fun with that. He's also the performer of Sifo Dyas in the Count Dooku Jedi Lost audio drama, and now he is doing his first full-on audio narration with Freefall, and I think that's great. He was great fun in both of those audio dramas, so I hope he kills it. And if you want to check out how he does, or any other Star Wars book on audio, just go to sw7x7.com/audible for your free audiobook and your free 30-day trial. Now, the thing that I haven't talked about, I mentioned it briefly, the fact that the relationship between Poe and Zori gets a great deal of attention in the book, and I feel like that's the relationship upon which the whole book turns, and if it wasn't done credibly, then A, it would fall apart, and B, then if you read the book and then watched The Rise of Skywalker, or, alternatively, if you had watched The Rise of Skywalker and then came to this book, either way, if it didn't get it right, then both experiences kind of lose a little bit of luster, if you will. And I really do feel like Alex Segura got it right. He's patient in building their relationship. He builds up the tension between their differing moral and ethical codes and gets them to a point where they are able to come together and also break apart. It is a young adult novel, so I think it comes across perhaps as a little innocent compared to the chemistry that we saw between Poe and Zori on screen, but that's because it is what it is in the genre that it's in. And so, hey, you take it for what it is, which is a good, entertaining series of adventures with Poe Dameron that compellingly tell his journey from joining the Spice Runners to ultimately leaving them behind. And that is going to do it for this episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.